Alright, Katrina and Kate, I just want to make a video of what we've done with Rosie before she goes home so you guys have it, and kind of what I've worked on with her and where she is in her training. So when we start these guys, we like to have them so they will just ground tie as we saddle them. That way they learn to just stay on their own. You're not holding them in place. It's just a good habit to have. So if you're ever in the cross ties and she's getting dancy to be saddled or kind of all over the place, I'll start them like this. I'll move them to the cross ties so I can tack them up there, and if they're ever giving me any issues in the cross ties, I'll come back to this. Just to reiterate, I expect you to stand still while you're being saddled. Whenever I'm first cinching them up, I don't ever make it super tight. I just snug it just a little bit, and then when I'm about to get on, I'll tighten it up. And I just find that keeps them from getting sore or anxious about that or anticipating you tightening them up on them. If she does move away when I'm doing this, I'll just put her back in the same spot where I asked her to stand in the first place, ask her to stand again, and then go from there. Okay. So as far as riding her, right now I'm riding her in a twisted wire and some training forks. So this is kind of my just step up from a smooth snaffle, which is what I start them all in. Once they start learning and understanding that, I'll go ahead and just twist them over or change them over to a twisted wire, so I have just a little bit more control. At first with her, she was she could be a little naughty about putting the bridle in, and by that all I mean is she would back up or try to put her head way up when I'm trying to put the bit in her mouth. So really, some things with these young ones, I feel like the bigger deal you make out of it, the worse they get. And the key is just repetition and not making a big deal out of it. And that helped her a ton. So I would just stay with her, and she backed up. I'd just go right with her and stay, and then try to put the bit in her mouth nice and easy. And I might have dropped it right back out and put it right back in. But I didn't make a big deal about it. I will go up here and just put my thumb in the corner of her mouth. She's gotten really good about just opening up and letting me put the bridle right on. It's not something I really anticipating her being bad about again, but it did take a little bit for her to get this good about it. And again, I didn't do no real magic tricks, just made it not a big deal. And the more I did it, the better she got. All right. A lot of days, if she hasn't been turned out, or she was put in the walker, I will go ahead and lunge her before I ride her. And she is one, she'll buck around or do a little, have fun with it, and really with lunging, that's not a big deal to me. To me, especially with these young ones, that's their time to play and get all that orneriness out, so when I'm on the back, it's time to do your job. So in other words, if they buck and play, as long as they're not dragging me around the pen, if she wants to go around the wrong lead, whatever, that's fine. I find that is her time to get that energy out, so that, like I said, when I do get on and we get to work, she's a lot more focused, and she knows that's the time to do her job. With it being Friday, I've ridden her every day this week, and she was turned out. I just got her out of the field this morning for just about an hour and a half, so I'm not going to lunge her today. I'm just going to go ahead and get on and show you guys where where she is. I'll just get on here. With getting on them, I like my reins to be nice and loose. Get on, and I want them to stand until I tell them to walk off. So that's a big deal to me. I don't want to be holding on to them. I want to be able to get up here, relax, them have patience, not walking off as I'm getting on, or even the second I get on trying to walk off with me. This is a big deal for me to control the ride rate from the start. So I think that's good with any horse, is I want them to wait until I tell them to go forward. A lot of times too, to keep them good about this, the first thing I do will not be to just walk off. In other words, I'll do anything else first, whether that's back up a couple steps, make them give their face, do a forehand turn, do a turn on the haunches, anything other than walking right off. So here I'm just going to ask her to back a couple steps first. Okay, and then I might settle again. Put your head down, loosen up. But it's just a good practice to make them be patient and wait for you, and so that you control the ride from the start. All right, so you want to move out there a little bit. Don't stop it, it's okay. Just so I can ride around you. All right. So just to talk about her in general while I walk her around here, she's doing good in her training. She's come far. Certain things I would like her to be a little bit further out, and I'll talk to you about that as I ride her. But with her personality in general, she has a little bit of sass to her. And I'm not saying that means she's untrainable or won't make a nice horse, but she does have a little bit of attitude. And what I found to help her with that is just kind of, just like with the bridle thing, is just stay consistent and try to stay easy and not to make a big blow up of anything. And by attitude, I mean sometimes, like, you know, if I'm working and I stop and then I kick her to go forward, sometimes she'll kind of not want to go forward. And in that case, I'll just lightly keep kicking her and direct her feet and wait till she walks off, and then I stop kicking. There's been no like rare or crazy buck or anything like that. Sometimes if I'm pushing her and ask a little bit more with my spur, she has kicked out at my leg. And again, by that I don't mean a huge explosion. I just mean a little kind of baby attitude of, you know, I don't want to. And I really find with her is, again, if you don't make a big deal, you just stay persistent, and when she does it, you give a big release. She's a lot more willing. I think if you fought her over every little thing that she did wrong, you would go way backwards, and you wouldn't get anywhere. So when I want to jog her off, I just kind of lightly close my fingers and tap both feet. She's gotten a lot better about a nice little jog here, kind of finding that. She's not always consistent, and I don't expect her to be dead consistent at this point. But when she is, like right now when she's good, I'm just relaxing in my saddle, just guiding her around. And one thing what I believe in with our program is we try to keep kind of their shoulders up through everything at this point. And that's why my hands are kind of higher here. I'm not at this point asking for her to drop her neck. Just like that, that's all right. I'm not asking her to drop her neck. I'm just asking her to give at the pole. Not used to be talking this much, so she's hesitating a little bit. But what I mean by that is when I ask her face, I'm right up in here, and I want just her chin coming off of my reins and softening up. My hands aren't out here way wide and asking her to drop that neck. The reason for that is at this stage, I think if you focus too much on wide and getting them to drop their neck, it puts the horse on its forehand, and they're not going to be as nice of driving from behind. They're going to get heavy in the front, and they just kind of don't know. You want to keep them up and using themselves at this point. The headset will always come. That's kind of the last thing that we focus on. this stage, we're really focusing on just being able to control and move your body parts. And like I said, just the softening here, where I'm just asking for that chin, almost if you think of their nose coming towards their chest. I'm not asking for them to drop down and pull me down in the bit. So we have done, or I have done, moving on the forehand. So I'm just going to push my leg back, ask for that hip to step around. Okay. When I do that, it's not a kick. I'm not pestering her. It's just a push. So if I do it this side, I'm going to push my leg back towards her hip, and it's a push and lighten up. Push and lighten up. Push and lighten up. So that there's always, and I'll show you from this side too, I want there to be a release there when she does step off. So there's always a reward. So it's back, light. If I need help, I'll use that same rein. Push it around, good girl. Okay. So moving the shoulders, I'm just gonna show, and my leg's gonna be right here by the girth. Just a good step or two, and I'm gonna stop. All these, at this point, she has a good idea of everything, but you just wanna learn to build, there we go, off of the right thing. Okay. So a little bit confused, forward, there we go. And that's what I mean. Like sometimes if you break it down and really focus on kind of moving the body and not going anywhere, sometimes then when you ask her to walk off, she'll be a little bit confused, and I'll just lightly keep telling her, go forward and not make a big deal out of that. Some people would then really reprimand and kind of boot them for it, and I don't think that's, you kind of, with this stage and training, you have to pick your battles a little bit and not make too big of a deal out of the little things. So the other way, same thing. Show her where you want to go, foot by the girth. Once she gives me a good step or two, I go ahead and let her out. And she has learned also to put that together. Put a side pass, take your time, find that middle spot. Very good. And that's exactly what I want. I want her moving side to the side, not a lot of pressure in the bridle, really little to no resistance. And it might take a minute. Like here, she's a little confused. So I'm just gonna stay with it. There we go. Reapply that pressure. Good. When she gives me a good step or two, I want a little bit more. All right. Take your time. Ooh. Don't run from it. Go. Good step or two. There. Ooh. And we'll settle. Again, a lot of that is a little bit of attitude and a little bit of confusion. And I think the more you just kind of settle and reapply or re-ask, once she figures it out, give her the big release and not make a big deal out of it. Okay. You can rub your legs on her. Okay. That's a little bit of kind of desensitizing that I like to do on all my young ones so they're not overreactive from my leg. And I never want to be afraid to bring my leg in to ask her to do anything. And if I feel like she juts off or is anxious about my leg, that's what I'll do. I'll come in, I'll rub, I'm rubbing the other one too. That's exactly what I want, like no reaction, okay? So, jogging off, just open up, tap, 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 find your seat. Perfect. Out of there is not sure. Make a little contact with her face. Ask her to come back to you. Also moved her shoulders at the trot or at the jog. So you can kind of reverse arc her a little bit. bending her around and doing some of this stuff. And some rides I literally come out and just stay in the middle and keep things super simple. So don't think, and I think that's really healthy for a young one. I don't want to always be pushing them to do a lot. I want some days to be a light work and some days to say, okay, we're really going to work on moving those body parts. And when they give you a good response, even if it's just a step or two, making sure you reward that. So I want to trot her out. Just going to bump my feet just like I do at the jog. Ask her to trot around here. Same thing, just show I'm not super worried about her headset too much. Just my hands are kind of forward. I want her head and neck staying right in the middle. Shoot her legs straight through my hands. Don't be afraid to use your feet. I think the long trying has really helped with her steering and her softness at the canter. So depending on how much you do ride her, I think this is always a good thing to incorporate. Then if you want to work on coming back to your normal jog, just kind of find your feet, build a little bit of wall with your hands, let her come back down to the outside. Alright, so with our load ball, I want to emphasize this my outside leg being back, a little bit of inside rein, kind of straight up, and that's kind of the little sass that I'm talking about. But I'm just going to focus on my hands staying up here. Guide my horse around. As long as she's in this little groove, I'm super happy. I'm not making a lot of contact with her face. Okay? I'm not making a lot of contact with her face. Again, I don't want my hands to be wide and pulling her down. I just want them to be up here. And I've really taught her to stay up here in between the reins. And I think that's super important with your transition even from one-handed, because when you steer, you're going to be up here. You're not steering back here. And I think if you start them like this and you really focus on everything being a pull and back here, then that's such a big difference for a horse to learn to stay between the reins up here. So with that canter, I'm super happy with that canter. She's just finding her cadence, going around soft. She's not trying to take off on me, not in and out. That's exactly where I'd want her to be at this point in training. I have started to taught her to what we call shape up into your low ball. Okay, so I'll put my outside leg there. I want that hip to yield. Ideally, I want them to stay moving. Okay, so hip yield. I'll pistol her. Okay, and step off. So that's kind of just a little bit of, in my opinion, a weaker area for her right now, where I'd like to be a little further along. So I would like her to be able to step right out of that and step right off into the canter. With her, that's been kind of one of the struggles. So a couple trot steps and her stepping off quiet and not stepping off with a big acceleration is a win at this point. So to further her training, I would just keep working on that and try to dwindle down those trot steps a little bit. But for right now, I'm super happy with that. this door a tad. And I want her to almost think about side passing at the wall. Okay? Then my outside leg is steady. Good. And I just want to show her around here. If you're loafing around and you want to break to the jog, find your seat, airplane your legs a little bit, tell her jog. Okay? Build just a little bit of wall with your hands. She's pretty good about breaking right on down. And again, to loop off, my leg's going to move back towards her hip just like a forehand turn. Hold it steady. That was a great step off for her. If there's some days where she's a little more rammy at this canter. If she is, I'll work that bridle back and forth, and then I might stop and back her right up. Okay? So don't be afraid of that. If you feel like you step off and she's just taking you and pulling you, use your hands, put the brakes on, and back her up a couple steps. That'll keep her honest.
I'm gonna have to go.
That'll keep her honest and soft and how she is right now. So that's pretty much where she is in her training. Today is a very good day. And not that other days are terrible, but I think she really showed what she can do today. I'm very happy with that. Some days my rides might be 15 minutes, some days they're 35 minutes. It just all fluctuates with how she's responding in that ride and what she's doing. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me at any time.